Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our reactions to the qualifying for the Canadian Grand Prix, which sets up an almighty front row and was actually just full of shocks everywhere from the start. We'll get into all that and more in just a second. Before we do, remember to like and subscribe, and of course a huge shout out to the members: Dakota, the Joyous James, Ron Myers, Cinnamon Strudel, Michael Johnson, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Philip Doganzik, Fandy Skick, No Edo on Sandwiches, and Sarah Jowett. If you want to become a member, click the link in the description down below, either on YouTube or on the Patreon. But let's get into Q1, and qualifying started with my favourite thing, the return of the C6 soft tyre, which with it brings the debate of what is faster, the softer or the mediums. The teams had to think a bit more going into qualifying, even about tyre strategy here, and it played a huge role throughout all of qualifying as well, with the two tyres being close throughout, but I think definitely at the end, the medium tyre was definitely quicker over one lap pace. So, starting in Q1, we have medium tyres for Antonelli, the Alpines, and Alonso, all the A's for their first laps. Stroll goes out on the soft, and he gets an early second place in Q1, with Alonso on the mediums in third place, just 0.003 behind. But what we would discover throughout Q1 is that Alonso's car had a hell of a lot of fuel on board, because they just strapped those medium tyres on him and they went, right, off you go, Alonso, we'll see you at the end of the session. And he just did lap after lap after lap, and he just went quicker and quicker and quicker. Whilst the qualifying is going on, it's announced that Yuki Tsunoda has a 10-place grid penalty for the race tomorrow for overtaking Oscar Piastri under red flags during an FP3 session. Now, we saw a very similar thing, well, the exact same thing happened to Ollie Behrman at the Monaco Grand Prix. He overtook Carlos Sainz, I believe it was, during a red flag in a free practice session. He got a 10-place penalty, so it's pretty cut and dry that Tsunoda would as well. So a bad start to Tsunoda's 100th Grand Prix weekend. Alonso, still on the mediums, now goes top of the timesheets, but this is when the red flag comes out, because the engine cover on Alexander Albon's car explodes as he's heading down the final straight. It just goes BAM! And just all of a sudden, the left side of the car is all exposed. You can see everything. It was utter madness. Red flag comes out because there's debris on the track. We get back to the pits. There's 5.5 minutes to go. Fantastically, the Williams team able to fix all of this and send Albon back out when we go green again. So great work from the Williams team. I mean, that is just one of those freak accidents that we very rarely see, but it's the second time this season this has happened. I believe it happened to Ollie Behrman during testing. So the second time to two completely different cars that this has happened. A very, very weird thing. I wonder what would happen in a race situation. If Albon's engine cover just blew up like that, is that just can he carry on? I mean, I imagine the aerodynamics of the entire car would be entirely wrecked, but if the team wanted him to, could he carry on? Is that a meatball flag situation? I imagine it would be. Hopefully, we don't have to answer that question anytime soon. But yeah, as we go into the final part of Q1, Alonso now is the only driver on the medium tyres, everyone else electing to go for the soft. And as the session ends, in 20th place, it is Pierre Gasly, his 4th Q1 exit of the year. Liam Lawson is 19th, the second time for him this year. He'll be starting the race on the final row of the grid. Welcome back, Lance Stroll. You will start your home race from 18th place, a very bad qualifying session for Lance Stroll, especially considering how good his teammate has been throughout this session. Carlos Sainz is in 17, and he's absolutely furious, impeded by Isaac Hadjar on his last running lap there. A penalty for sure is coming Hadjar's way for that. He also ran onto the grass a little bit as he crossed over the line, but realistically, he lost so much time behind Hadjar that really meant nothing at that point. So yeah, he's absolutely furious and has a big uphill battle for him tomorrow. Gabriel Bortoleto is in 16th, just 0.007 off the back of 15th place, but he is out from here. A decent lap for Bortoleto. The Saubers seem to be doing a little bit better in the last couple races in terms of pace. They're not now 19th and 20th as they had been for like the last year and a half. Going into Q2 now, and Max Verstappen is out on the mediums to start the session and goes faster than both McLarens who were on soft tyres after their initial laps. Fernando Alonso sets his first lap in Q2 on the softs, but I imagine that is just to make sure that you're not wasting all of your medium tyres in qualifying. Charles Leclerc goes top with 5 minutes to go. At this point of the qualifying session, we had Leclerc, Verstappen, Norris and Piastri making up the top 4, all within 0.089 of each other. This is the closest it has been all season. This was the season we were promised in testing. When everyone was telling us how close it was going to be, this was the session that we were promised. Now, is this to do with flexi wings? Is it to do with whatever it could be? Who's to know? Who cares? We have some close times as of right now. Towards the end of Q2, we see medium tyres for Colapinto and Alonso and Antonelli and Albon and Russell goes top on the medium tyres at this point. But out in Q2 are Behrman and Ocon. Behrman 14th, Ocon 15th for Haas's 200th race. Nico Hülkenberg is in 13th place. 12th place is Colapinto, beating Pierre Gasly for the first time in what I believe is his 4th of the 5 races that he was promised by Alpine. But then Flavio Briatore said, whoever said that we promised him 5 races? And the answer was, you did, Flavio. But, you know, he looks pretty good in this one so far, beating Gasly there for P12. But it will be P11 tomorrow, because Tsunoda qualified in 11th, and he does have a 10-place grid penalty, so will start last. Tsunoda also claiming that George Russell should have had a penalty in that session. Seeing where George Russell ends up, some other teams may be claiming that he should deserve that penalty as well. I don't think he does. What happened was as they were going out of the pit lane, Tsunoda was going incredibly quickly and Russell passed him. They were past the green light of the pit lane, so realistically at that point, you are on the racetrack. You can be overtaken. We've seen many drivers do this before, so I don't really know what Tsunoda was complaining about there. I think Russell is absolutely fine. Going into Q3 now, and as people go for their first initial lap, Lando Norris was looking relatively quick until he came across the final chicane and completely missed it. We've seen both McLaren drivers struggle with that quite a lot throughout the free practice sessions. Norris, I think, was the only driver out of the McLaren boys to do that in the actual session itself. He did have enough fuel on board to go for a second lap, but a second lap with the soft tyres was not as competitive as he would have hoped. After everyone's first laps, this was their top 10. Hadjar was 10th, Albon in 9th, with Hamilton in 8th. Alonso was 7th, Leclerc in 6th, Norris was 5th, Antonelli 4th, Russell 3rd, Piastri 2nd, and Max Verstappen had provisional pole position, separated from Piastri by 0.025 of a second. Going on to the last fast laps for everyone, Charles Leclerc had tremendous pace, setting a purple sector 1, but going into turn 6 at a huge snap of oversteer, then a massive slide through turn 7, so completely backed out, was not able to do another run there for Charles Leclerc. He blamed Hadjar, complaining of dirty air, and while dirty air certainly would have had an effect, I do not expect Hadjar to be having any kind of impeding penalty for that specific impeding oh my god, I've forgotten every word in the English language. Accusation. There we go. He won't be getting a penalty for that accusation. He will for the science one. So, unfortunate for Leclerc, but I think to fully blame it on Hadjar is a little bit harsh, if I'm honest with you. Going into the last laps of qualifying, though, pole position was all about the two McLarens and Max Verstappen. And as they cross the line, it's Max Verstappen who takes pole position and will start from P1 for tomorrow's race, until it's not. George Russell, out of nowhere, sets a lap of the gods and takes pole position from Max Verstappen. George Russell will start on pole for the second Canadian Grand Prix in a row. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Mercedes have looked quick all this weekend, and of course Russell did top Q2, but going into the dying moments of that, I've dropped my pen, going into the dying moments of that Q3, Russell was relatively nowhere. His first lap put him third, but he wasn't really on the same category as the two McLarens and the Red Bull had been. Then he just crosses the line, and he's on top. It was a fantastic lap from Russell. And again, we've spoken a lot in qualifying this year about the gaps between first and second and how close it has been. Russell got pole here by 0.16, which again is one of the biggest qualifying gaps that we've seen. I don't think it is the biggest one. I think that was last time out in Spain between Norris and Piastri. But if we look at some of the qualifying gaps this year, I'm just pulling them up here. So Spain, the gap was 0.2 of a second. In Monaco, it was 0.109, which is smaller than this. Imola 0.03, Miami 0.06, Saudi 0.01, Bahrain 0.168. So that is a big one. This is the third biggest qualifying gap of the year between George Russell and Max Verstappen, because of course, after the 2 weeks that we've just had, which other two drivers are going to be on the front row for tomorrow's race than the best buddies in all the world, George Russell and Max Verstappen? Let's take a look at the rest of the top 10 though. So Alex Albon has to settle for 10th place. Isaac Hadjar is in 9th, but like I said, penalty likely for him will probably push him down to around about 12th, which will promote Albon up, but will also give Colapinto a top 10 start, I believe, because both Tsunoda and Hadjar are likely to get penalties, so Colapinto will start within the top 10. Charles Leclerc will be very disappointed there. He's in 8th, and like I said, messed up that final lap. Lando Norris, though, will also be massively disappointed. The McLaren has not looked like the fastest car on the grid today, but even still, it was an incredibly quick car, and especially in FP3, Lando looked the far superior of the two McLaren drivers, but with a lap time 7/10 of a second slower than what George Russell produced, Lando Norris will start in 7th place behind Fernando Alonso on the medium tyres, starting in 6th place. Imagine going back to the first few races of this year and saying, on pace, Lando Norris will start behind an Aston Martin at the Canadian Grand Prix. A fantastic job from Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton equals his best qualifying of the year in P5. A great lap for Kimi Antonelli, actually. Antonelli looked nowhere all through the practice sessions. Really just not in the same league as the rest of the front runners. Then throughout qualifying, he just kind of made it through, but a good lap for him puts him in P4. Oscar Piastri is 3rd. He was 0.2 off of George Russell. Then it is the best buds for life. Max Verstappen, P2 on the mediums. George Russell, P1 on the mediums. Fantastic lap from both of them. But the star of qualifying, All Rise Mr. Saturday, a wonderful job from George Russell. And again, this gives us what should be a very, very exciting race going into tomorrow. Now, I believe it will be a dry race. I haven't seen anyone saying that rain is on its way. But these two at the start is going to be really fun. You're going to have Oscar Piastri, who is just going to be right there with them the whole time. Lando Norris will have to fight his way through the grid to get up towards the front. This should make what should be a very, very fun race weekend. And I would say this has huge implications for our championship. It would if Max Verstappen had around about 10 more points in the championship, because he's starting ahead of both of what should be his championship rivals. But maybe this is the start of the ultimate comeback for Max Verstappen, and maybe he still can become the 2025 world champion. Or maybe that just exists inside my dreams. And speaking of dreams, I'm going to bed right now because, it's late, isn't it? I'll see you tomorrow for all things Formula One, as well as Formula One Academy as well. We'll have the coverage of that as on the channel tomorrow. Driver ratings will be out on the Monday. You know the drill by now. But that is it for now. I'll be back with you then. Until then, though, have a good one. Goodbye.